Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
We've been talking today about the year in review. One of the hot topics, Leanne, is that of Bill Cosby. You know, and I think it's very interesting how Bill Cosby can be accused of all these things over decades, and it's an international news story pretty much overnight. Now, we just saw him do the perp walk, and they've taken him into custody. He's made bail now. But you think about somebody like Bill Clinton, who's been doing these or been accused of the same things Bill Cosby has for decades on end. And when you bring it up that he's done these things or at least been accused of them, oh, you're a sexist, you're attacking Hillary, you're bringing this up just for political points.
Right, exactly. It's just a political talking point. Meanwhile, we've seen for years them using the war on women and Republicans hate women as their talking point to go after the Republican Party. And so then when you want to throw it back in their face, then of course you're just politicizing something that, you know, really wasn't a big deal. Mind your own business. Bill and Hillary worked it out in their own relationship. Why should the country be concerned about it? And we're going to talk about that right now, of why the country should be concerned about it, why it is fair game with these sexual allegations against Bill Clinton. And they're not even allegations. I mean, he has admitted to affairs and also had to pay out Paula Jones. So, you know, this is someone that is a serial predator, just like Bill Cosby. But you're not hearing about that on the mainstream media. What you are hearing about is Bill Cosby. And of course, it's because he did have to, you know, go do the perp walk. So he was appearing in court today to face these sexual assault charges stemming from a 2004 incident with Andrea Constand. So he has had to post $1 million bail. He was forced to hand over his passport, but he hasn't entered a plea deal just yet. Now, Constand claims that Cosby gave her 3 blue pills with wine one night at his mansion, and then he sexually molested her. The charge against him is punishable by 5 to 10 years behind bars, a $25,000 fine. Now, she's just one of more than 50 women who have come forward. Obviously, some of those people may or may not be true, but more than 50 women have come forward in the past year alone claiming to be victims of, that they were drugged and sexually assaulted by Bill Cosby. Now, Breitbart today decided to repost one of their articles from last year where they were pointing out how the media hunts Bill Cosby, but then they celebrate Bill Clinton.
Yes.
And they have really been doing that in these past couple of weeks, of course, because Donald Trump, as soon as Hillary tried to pull out that gender card and sexism card, he was like, really? Don't go there. And so, you know, that's one thing I got to give Trump credit. Love him or hate him, he does not back down. And I'm actually enjoying watching him rattle the establishment a little bit. But so now Breitbart is going back and they're pointing out now here, I think because it was a very racially inflamed last year, they were kind of taking the case where you see how the media goes after Herman Cain or also the who was a Supreme Court Justice, Clarence Thomas, of course. So they went after these 2 black men and Bill Cosby as well. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton is allowed to skate free. But of course, we've seen them go after like John Edwards and the whole Wienergate thing. So,
Yes.
you know, I don't think that's totally fair. But they point out how this is President Bill Clinton, all of these women against him, that he was accused of rape by multiple women, one of them stemming back as far as, 1969. Okay, this is where one of the first alleged incidents falls back. But he was forced to settle a lawsuit. And one of the first accusers that came forward, Juanita Broderick, she wasn't like these Cosby accusers. She didn't even want to be put out in the media. She didn't even want to have any kind of financial lawsuit or anything. She was a reluctant witness, but they forced her to testify. But so the media went out of their way to circle the wagons around the Clintons and discredit her. They called her a liar, all of this stuff. So where was Hillary Clinton? She's trying to run her whole campaign on, we need to believe the victims of sexual violence and we believe that your voice should be heard. She actually made a video saying that when she stands accused of defaming, threatening these women. And
yeah, because we saw that video. She was at some type of Q&A session, and she's up there talking about all the rights of the victims. And somebody says, "Well, what about the people that accused your husband?" She was like, "Well, those women been disproved."
Yeah, and once you disbelieve them, and she just sat there like frozen in space of like, oh goodness, someone finally asked me the question. I thought we had screened all of the questioners here. How'd she slip in? Yeah, that was a really, I don't know who that person was, but that was some awesome citizen journalism there. But yeah, let's take a look. So these are just some of the sexual stories and allegations besides the famous Monica Lewinsky scandal, where Bill Clinton went after his former intern, who was like 21 at the time. So we have Eileen Wellstone, I mentioned, she claimed that he raped her in 1969. Juanita Broderick claimed he raped her in 1978. Jennifer Flowers claimed to be his mistress for 12 years. Kathleen Wiley, she was a former White House aide. She claimed Clinton sexually assaulted her in 1993. And then, of course, Paula Jones sued him for sexual harassment in 94. The lawsuit was dropped after there was an $850,000 out-of-court settlement, and I do believe that was where he lied under oath, and that was where he was impeached. Okay, and so even with all of that, the DNC is still coming out and saying, if you want to come after Bill Clinton, do so at your own peril. This is actually Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Those words came out of her mouth. She said, polls show that if he were to run for re-election, he'd be elected right now. He's one of the most revered people in politics and men in the world. That's what she said.
Let me pump the brakes on that.
Right.
I don't know too many people, little boys, who want to grow up and be like Bill Clinton.
Right. Well, so that's what she's basically saying. It's okay to sexually assault people and still be revered in the Democratic Party as long as you're Bill Clinton.
Hold on, let me interject here, Leanne, because we see the rape or the sexual assault thing is such a hot topic on college campuses.
Rape culture.
Everywhere you hear, rape culture, what should we have campus carry or not to stop these rapists? Should we do this or that to stop the rapists?
Right.
It's such a big issue, but if you dare talk about somebody who's been accused of things or had settlements about it, Miss Flowers is somebody Larry Nichols talked to us about. If you have all these things going on and it's a president of the United States,
right,
nobody wants to touch it. You can't touch it.
No, it's completely off limits, and we've seen the media do this, of course. When Obama was running, there were so many topics that were completely off limits. You weren't allowed to bring it up because he needed to be elected, and the same thing's happening now with Hillary Clinton. I pointed this out earlier this week. CNN actually had a panel. It was all women on the panel, and the lady opened the panel with, is Bill Clinton sexist, or does he simply like women? So where is the rape culture? Where is the rallying around women accusers? He just likes women, Jakari. It's, you know what I mean? He took it a little too far because he just likes women too much. I mean, it's insane.
I mean, I saw that clip a little bit before we got on air, and I was really kind of surprised to see a bunch of women take that angle. He just really likes women so much that he forces himself upon them.
Right, and this is Hillary Clinton, who's just running this whole campaign of how it's time for women to, the first woman president needs to be elected. But she expects everyone to just forget about Bill Clinton's sexual assault or sexual harassment. But here's the other thing, because I know when all of these allegations against Bill Cosby first started to surface, people were really rightly angry with the media because they were like, you guys covered this up for all of these years, and he just continued to make millions of dollars for all of these decades. He continued to assault these women because the media, they never believed them, and so they were upset about the fact that he was like raking in the dough,
Somewhat similar
America's
to
sweetheart.
Jimmy Savile. I mean, Jimmy Savile was messing with kids, Bill Cosby was messing with women.
Right. Well, Bill Cosby, of course, he could continue to make that money, but so did Bill Clinton. Okay, and so now this is obviously something that we've talked about before with the Clinton Foundation. She said that they were dead broke when they got out of the White House, but of course, since then, they've made like $100 and something million. Oh,
yeah, they make
in speaking fees.
Yeah, they make thousands of dollars to go to these speaking engagements. You're exactly
Millions,
right.
Yeah. And so this is coming out today. This, I believe, is CNN, where they're like, Hillary needs to set some ethics guidelines, and it's like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and see if she's going to start setting those guidelines right now. But they point out how while she was a Secretary of State, Bill Clinton reportedly earned tens of millions of dollars in speaking fees, including over $16 million in her last year in office. And a lot of those instances, companies had some issues before the State Department. So he's earning money on things while his wife was, deciding if they were going to work together with these companies. So,
well, that's a
little pay to play.
A very powerful report. Thank you, Leanne. Now, coming up, we have an interview, the bombshell interview Alex Jones conducted with Cy Hirsch. He is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, and he's been documenting how the Pentagon is refusing to back Obama's orders, the very unconstitutional ones, to support ISIS. That's coming up next, and you do not want to miss it.
This is an American president. Just add puppet, then vote and repeat every 4 years.
Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're gonna crash and gonna feel really bad afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for. You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.